Downtown, it did for a while.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah, I
is.
saw it on the news. There was a massive sale over
Mhm.
downtown. They were showing, I think it was Fox 5, from Decatur, the view
Right.
skyline, and like half of the skyline was obstructed. Rain. It was wild looking. We even need it at our house.
Oh, yeah. People have been telling me, oh, yeah, we got rain, we got rain. I'm like, you must be missing us.
I mean, yes, we got, I guess it was a couple nights ago, we ended up with maybe an inch, as far as 10:30 or so. I mean, everywhere else it's been, they said, oh, 3 to 5. And I'm
I
like,
know.
oh, yeah,
I know, we were like,
give us some. Tomatoes are all shriveled up, very sad.
Hey, hey.
Hello. Hey there.
hello. Hi, that costs $2,000. Can do a, X-ray to find out if it's orthopedic or if it's neurology. So. Dog over 6 months. So we're talking to reader. So we're trying to decide.
All right.
That's right.
Today's date is July 9th, Tuesday, July 9th, time is 6:00 p.m. We are here for the Henry County Board of Ethics meeting. Do a quick roll call. District 1, Ethel McCornell. District 2, Craig Simmons, Vice Chair. District 3, Lauren B. Smith.
Sir.
District 4, Lisa Harrell.
Present.
District 5, myself, Desmond McLean, Chair. Tax Commission appointee Cynthia Coronado. Antonio Taylor. Absent. Clerk of Superior Court, selected alternate. Those seats are still vacant. We also have our attorney here, still here. I'm sorry, Mr. Rashad, I'm sorry about that. All right. We're gonna do the board vote for approval of the meeting minutes from June 11th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
All right, motion made by Lawrence Smith. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ethel McCornell. All in favor? Any opposers? All right. Motion passed. General updates by our ethics administrator.
Good evening, board. I just have 3 quick updates. The first update that I want to talk to you about is the terms. So after last meeting, me and a project kind of got together just to clarify everything, because I was going based on term limits of court. She was going based off of term limits per the bill. So we kind of had a conversation over the last one and finally got everything situated. So, right now we do have two open seats, which are the alternates for the Superior Court Clerk's Office. And our District 3 seat, which is Miss Lauren Smith. Actually, that is Antonio's old district. So you're actually finishing out his term, which ends December of this year. So it's gonna end December 24th of 2024. But you can apply again. The application is open on the website, same procedures last time. So we'll have to do that if you want to, apply again. So that's that one. Now, District 4, Miss Felicia, you were replacing Miss Anquilla before, when you left the alternate from Superior Court. So yours ends December 24th of 2024 as well. So if you'd like to apply again, you can do that as well. So we just wanted to clarify that because that was kind of me and December 31st. I'm sorry, December 31st of 2024. And we finally got that all straightened out. So the application is open online, so please go in and put your applications in if you'd like to apply. So now let me update you on the alternates. So I reached out to the Superior Court Clerk, Ms. Hill, on March 22nd to inform her of board member Thomas Loreen's resignation. And again, on April 18th, when Ms. Felicia had to resign due to her being appointed to District 4 by the grand jury. So I reached out to her on those 2 days. I followed up with her via email on May 13th and received a response that she was currently vetting candidates. I hadn't heard back, so I sent her a follow-up email July 2nd just to inquire on the status of the 2 alternate appointments. And I have not received a response as of yet. So as of right now, I don't know what's going on with the 2 alternates to Superior Court. So I'm just waiting. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that. My next.
Chief, can I ask a few questions?
Yes.
So based on, we did have applicants for those, or do we do applicants for those, or are they just appointed?
For the Superior Court, we do not. I will handle anything that has to do with the tax commissioner's appointees or the Superior Court clerk's appointees. They have their own process. I really don't know what that entails. I just do ours, like, all the 5 districts. That's the only applications I receive. That's why I really don't do with that application process, but so we're still waiting. And I'll keep you. Did anybody have any questions?
I did have a second question. So for Lauren and Felicia, they can apply now
Yes,
for those?
they can go ahead and, because the application process, I've decided that we're gonna leave it open on there because if people resign, I have to have applicants already available to try and fill those positions quickly. So you can go ahead and go in there and put your application in. Obviously, we're not gonna get to those until starting December, but we can go ahead and put applications. Like right now, I have so for District 2, because Craig's term also ends at the end of December, we spoke about that. I've already got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 applicants for District 2. So already I'm getting applications. I've got District 2, I've got District 1, I've got some District 3s. So as those districts terms start to end, I've already got applications that I can reach out to them and say, hey, are you still interested? And then we proceed with the process.
I just wonder if we do that, like, and I don't know what the bill says, so forgive me on this, like in November, so that person will be ready come January.
Right.
Instead.
As far as I know, we can't swear in a new member until the term of the other member is done. So I don't know.
Because now it seems like we're gonna have not a full board for a while.
Hopefully not. So district, right now, the one that we're concentrating on is for District 2. And those applications, we're already in the first step of the application. They have to fill out their supplemental application, so I'm waiting to get those back. Those are due on the 15th. Once those are done, then they'll move to the background checks. And if they pass that, then we'll move to setting up interviews. So Craig, if you decide that you're gonna reapply, I need you to go onto the county website and it's on there. Just let me know once you put it in so I can pull it off of there.
So is the interview process still the same as it was initially? All right,
It's exactly the same. The county requires everybody to go through a background check.
Right.
So once I verify the district per the addresses that they put on their application, that's how I'm separating them. And then after that, they have to fill out their supplemental application. Once we get that back, then I can move forward to the background checks, and then we'll set up interviews, so as long as they pass their background checks. So I'm hoping that by August, we'll have the District 2 seat either refilled or a new. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, you're gonna refill it before the end of his term?
No. Well, his term was actually up at the end of 2023. But like I said, we didn't have any applicants at that time. So now I'm starting to get more applications because we left I told the county to permanently leave it open. Because that way we don't run into this problem where I have to wait months and months for people to start applying. Because the problem I run into the last time that we did this was people were applying, but they weren't from the district that I needed at that time. So that was my issue. So now by leaving it open, we have more applications coming in, and yes, they're from different districts, but at least I'll have those for the next time that I need another district. So we're just gonna leave it permanently open, pretty much.
so is there any way that a board member can actually sit on the interview process? When it comes to looking for new applicants, or does the county solely want to have control over that? And we're just,
We do not do the interview process, period. We have
Okay.
nothing to do with that. The only thing that we do is vet them to make sure that they are, the only thing we do is make sure that they live in the district of the seat that's open.
Okay.
Make sure they do not have a background, a criminal background or anything, any felonies or anything like that. If they pass those two things, then the grand jury gets the applications. The grand jury is the one that conducts the interviews. So I do not interview these people. Bridget doesn't interview them. Our board doesn't interview them. The grand jury is the one that asks them whatever questions they see fit. And they're the ones that make the decision, because that keeps us out and keeps us completely impartial. So, any questions?
I'll just add to, one of the reasons Gloria asked for the listing to stay permanent is what we found is she was getting the applications and then people wouldn't do the supplemental, and then that automatically disqualified them. So if we had 7 applications, but they didn't do 4 people didn't do the supplemental, now we only have 3. Well, out of the 3, maybe 2 didn't do background checks. Now we have, so the longer it stays up, I think Gloria's intent is just to get people in. Because if they're interested now, then they're probably gonna be interested at that time too.
So that kind of just, again, it gives me a better range of doing applications than how we did it the first time. Because the first time, it was only up for like 4 or 5 weeks. And then half of the applicants either didn't respond back, didn't do their supplemental, didn't go do their background check, or they didn't live in the district. So that's why it took for so long to, go to District 2.
Gloria and I did discuss, because we are so hands-off on the interview process, maybe seeing if we can send some literature back with them, because sometimes when they're doing their interviews, It's my understanding that they don't understand what the Board of Ethics is. So they don't understand what to ask, and I guess the people who have been interviewed could probably attest to that.
Absolutely.
And so maybe just, even if it's just our brochure, just describing the Board of Ethics and our duties, that could give them a little guidance. So we're still hands off, but they have just the general brochure that we give the public in general to help guide them.
Absolutely.
I will say this, when I was just interviewed for the grand jury, I don't know if they have a better understanding now or the youth was just curious. But there was a young gentleman, I think a college student, that had his questions ready. And what it did, it prompted other people to ask questions based off his questions. And so it was pretty intense and I was surprised, but it was pretty good. They were pretty prepared. So I think it depends on which jury you get.
Good questions.
Yeah, so you had.
Yeah, we interviewed with the same jury and I don't feel, maybe they just got all of their good questions.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing that I was asked was, well, when are you running for public office? And I'm kind of like, no, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, what I do when I get there, because I get there early, I always, have our folders prepared with all our information and hand that out to them and let them look through it, and then I'll stay in there and they can ask me questions that I will explain what is it that you do. So I just go through a little bit and give them a little bit of information of what our office does and what you all as a board, can decide on. And so I think this last grand jury was a little bit more informed than when we did it the first time. Because that was the very first time we ever had to do it. And so we weren't, really prepared, because I was thinking that the DA's office kind of filled them in on why they were there for us, and that was not the case. So this time around, we were a little bit more prepared, and so we do give them folders, our pamphlets, and let them read through it, and then if they have any questions, they can ask me before our candidates get there. But once the candidate gets there, they call them in. I am not in the room. Operation is not in the room. It's just the grand jury and the candidate that's, applied. And then after they conduct all their interviews with however many applicants there might be, then they make a decision. And then that decision is given to me by the DA. That's how the process is. So we really are hands off. We don't tell them what questions to ask. We can't give them, any prompts like you should ask this, you should ask for that. We want to make sure that we are absolutely, just transparent with everything, the whole process. So. Any more questions or?
Thank you.
My second update is, so at our last meeting, we did talk that the board wanted for us to vet at least 2 more companies for our online training software system. So Oberthea will be doing a presentation, but mine kind of piggybacks on that. Once I did speak with Maddox kind of reached out and he said, hey, we just want to get back with you and see what's going on, is the quote okay? And I did put a new quote. Once I told Maddox that we were vetting 2 other companies, they were a little bit more interested in, hey, we want your business, what can we do to get it, contract with us? So they did significantly, like 50% reduce their quote from the last time. So we've got it down to $4,299.19 yearly for a 3-year contract. But that price is only good until Saturday. So we would have to, the board would have to decide on that after Oberthea presents the other quotes from the other 2 companies later on in her presentation.
What's the quote again? I'm sorry. 14,000.
It's $14,299, but it should be in your packets. And but that is a significant 50% from the last quote. So they're really gunning for our business. But like I said, I was, he did say, I should let them know that that's only good until Saturday. So it's, really it's good for once Oberthea presents her presentation on the 2 other quotes that we received. Does anybody have any questions or?
I'll just note that their last proposal for us actually doesn't expire until July 21st. So I'm pretty sure they'll give you a little wiggle room with that.
I wouldn't. Last time they said we had until a certain day, they reduced it half, so let's see if they, no.
Yeah.
Reduce it another half. But this quote still includes all the same services.
It's the exact same, 3-year contract, exactly the same services, everything that we had, back on the other folks, it's the exact same. It's just at a 50% less.
That works. Mm-hmm.
If somebody has any more questions on that? So my last update is on the insurance policy that the board inquired about. There's an email in the packet with some of the questions, and I know so is going to be able to assist with that. But I just wanted the board to know some of the questions that were being asked. I have never done insurance, so I did not want to take the liberty to try and answer this question. So the board can get with counsel, and counsel will help the board decide on what they need to answer those questions, so we can get that taken care of as well. Does anybody have any questions? That's all my updates.
All right, thank you, Madam Administrator. I acknowledge the presence of our Vice Chair, Mr. Craig Simmons. Are you here, sir? Here. See you. All right, next we'll have our general updates by our Ethics Officer.
Good evening, Board. As it relates to the general updates, we're first gonna go over training. Then we're gonna go over the case updates that we have, and then we're gonna go into our probable cause. First and foremost, as it relates to training, I mentioned at the last meeting that we had been in discussions with HR regarding new employee orientation, getting that up and running. And if we want to start from the first Monday of every pay period, it has started. Morgan and I have done two at this point, and it's going flawlessly. It's really good because we're getting people in for training. I think the first group may have been like 50-ish. And the next group maybe 50 or 60-ish. So we're getting a good amount of people. So we've started that new employee orientation. The first one, we used the program that you all saw last time. We set it there and they did the virtual. As you all saw, I don't like it because it's really it's monotone and it's really kind of AI looking. So I asked them, I said, hey, let me see if I can do in person, because that's a good backup if you all need it. You know, if somebody gets sick, which is Gloria and I, that's a good backup to have, so people are still getting the training. And so the last one that we just did was on Monday, and they let me do it in person, and I shot through it like a rocket, but they got what they needed. And they were really engaged, and even one of the employees from HR was like, yeah, that works a lot better, because if not, they're just listening to a 20-minute video about the business. So we have officially started that, and we plan on continuing doing it with HR the first Monday or the Monday of each pay period.
And how much time do you have?
When I present it, yes, 45 minutes. But typically when we do our yearly training, it's about 3 hours.
Right.
What I did was, because I had to condense the training for elections and police, I basically used that condensed version to train the new employees. A lot of them, they're not gonna have questions anyways, because they're new. So they don't even know or understand yet kind of the code of ethics or the situations they may be faced with. And so I was able to get it down to about 45 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about that? The next update is in regards to our upcoming final hearings that we have scheduled. Gloria and I have broken it down into 2 days. First day, we would have John Doe versus Vivian Thomas, and we would have Sis versus Key, and then we would have Korea versus Clemens. Gloria has already drafted the subpoenas on those. They will be going out. This is how we plan to do that full day, and I think those 3 cases will take us probably all day. On day 2, we plan to do the case in which we got consolidated into one case. If y'all remember, we have 2022 EB2, 2022 EB4, and 2023 EB2, all against the same individual. And so I plan on doing that one on day 2, because again, that one will probably take a lot of time. If we can get, hopefully we'll finish it on that same day. Once we complete all of those, then there will be none outstanding for a final hearing. Any questions about the hearings on those 2 days?
How many of those parties are represented by council?
Right now, only one, the one that's set for day 2.
What's the location again?
It's gonna be at the Superior Courthouse downtown. And then Gloria will email you all, so you'll have the courtroom number and all of that good stuff.
Sure, I have already received a email invitation, calendar invite. But you did,
I think a while ago.
all the information. But I'll send it over, I'll send it to you.
Any other questions in this regard? Lastly, as Gloria discussed, as it relates to the quotes, we vetted at the last board meeting, the board inquired if there were any other companies. And so we went, I think somebody actually suggested Illumi on the board. I thought so, but maybe not. I did reach out to Influence with her being in HR to see if she had any suggestions. She didn't, but we were able to find 2 other companies. We put the quotes in the package for you tonight. The first one is called Skillsoft. If you all remember, I went through what Navix looks like. I'm gonna go through what Skillsoft looks like a little bit. Skillsoft is a very, very similar program. So just so the board will know, all of these programs kind of do the same thing. They just offer very different ways of doing it. So this is Skillsoft. They're all able to be translated in different languages if need be. They do have a different price if you see the all other languages. We got a price for $1,500 as well as $1,700. They all have a way where we can track who is actually taking and complying, and all have a certificate. Unlike the first one that you all saw, Navix, this one doesn't have the automatic send out when there's non-compliance. They have very similar training. The biggest difference with Skillsoft is the type of videos they offer. They pride themselves on offering what they call Netflix quality training. So what that means is when you're looking at videos, you're looking at actors and actresses. I think they do that for the attempt to have it more engaging.
My name is Rosa and I'm a warehouse technician with Plangents. Yeah, I remember that day perfectly, which is kind of honestly surprising given the circumstances. We were in the middle of the pre-holidays push, so a busy, busy time. It was a good day, so everybody is feeling solid coming off shift. Anyways, I'm getting ready to leave and that's when I run into Mark and Olive.
At the time, I'd only been a warehouse technician for about 6 months. I was pretty green. But like a lot of newbie employees, Olive took me under her wing.
I definitely say Olive was a mentor to me when I first got to Plangents. She showed me the ropes, taught me how to assert myself on the floor. Over time, we became friends. I'd even say good friends. But I don't know. I could just tell that this new hire was uncomfortable around her.
I was thankful when Rosa showed up. I mean, she just kind of strolled up and made some joke to Olive, which definitely diffused the situation, I'd say. After that, we all made small talk, and then Olive gave us both hugs, and then she left. And as soon as Olive was out the door, Rosa turned to me and gave me this look.
I mean,
That's just a clip of the difference between the two. If you saw, remember last month it was more animated. Their videos are more personal, they're more entertaining, I guess, in a sense. So that's the biggest difference between this company and the other company that I can see really.
So basically, they're like another 48 hours.
Right.
Basically.
It was engaging. I was wondering what's gonna happen next.
It really, it's a very good way to keep people intrigued. I mean, it's one of the best ways of learning is by.
myself in my feet.
If that's training, Sunday.
Another special thing about this company is they actually have, no, this is soft skills.
Okay, all right.
They actually have a government sector. Unlike the other two companies, so they actually have one whole department that works only with government entities.
And so our content would be customized.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So there's standard videos like conflict of interest that we can use in general. But then we will add different slides that would customize it for us, but it will, the videos are set.
Okay. Gotcha.
Another thing different about this company is that she let me know there is another Henry County department that just contracted with them. I think their IT department is a department that just contracted with them to do some training as well. So that was, she just let me know that I think last week.
Does that mean we'll get a discount?
I was just gonna ask.
I do not believe we're gonna get a discount because, correct me if I'm wrong, Gloria, I think she said they cannot, this is their, this is the lowest they can go. This was their final number.
Their final
What is
number is
before you?
pretty high.
Yeah, it is.
Well, you gotta pay by good actors.
That's true. That's
So this
You
is
just suck in.
Skillsoft, just so you'll see that.
You have another skill saw? Paper, I don't see one in my package.
You can have this one if you like. You got it? The last one is. I believe this is called Illumi. They are the quotes with the blue. They, interesting enough, they actually use Skillsoft. So what Gloria and I realized when we were doing almost an interview of him, he mentioned Skillsoft. And so when he mentioned Skillsoft, I questioned what affiliation they had. So it seems as though they're almost
So
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
contract.
yeah, they subcontracted out to Skillsoft, which is probably why you will also notice, well, the quote was much higher than this. Let me just say, our first quote was $40,000 a year. And then Gloria said, oh no. And so we made sure we understood exactly what we needed. And after more discussion, they got us down to about $17,000 a year. That would be a 3-year contract. It's, 20,000, excuse me. That would be a 3-year contract. So even though they subcontract out to Skillsoft, they're more than Skillsoft.
Skillsoft is more like 2020.
Skillsoft is 1,900. 20,000. So they're the same. 19. They're the exact same, that's a lot.
Okay.
So it appears that the difference is Skillsoft goes up. On year 2 or year 3.
Gotcha.
We can lock this price in with them for 3 years, which is Skillsoft's first year. Just to kind of give you an idea of what their training looks like.
This a training video that we're about to see, or,
I believe it is the video.
okay,
And this is what an employee would walk through. They can choose their language.
And that's included in the price,
That is included in the price. Yes,
and it has multiple languages.
yes.
Well,
They're even broken down.
I did get, no,
well,
just
Skillsoft, that's
Yeah.
Skillsoft, yeah.
No, I got it. No, I get it.
And I did get Gloria to verify, because that was important too. We don't have anybody that works in the county that speaks anything other than English. We do have one deaf person, but nobody that speaks.
Television.
Now.
Media site.
Yeah, I don't think I would be comfortable signing up for something without having the other language option.
Begin to think about the lives that will be affected, partnerships lost, our reputation, and potential legal ramifications. Trust is broken, and uncertainty looms as you watch the public relations department to work to restore our organization's good name as the matter plays out in the public eye. But how does something like this happen? Our decisions and actions and those of our coworkers determine who we are and what our work environment and reputation will be. We must practice good ethical behavior and hold
So
ourselves.
this is kind of similar, to the Netflix videos when it comes to the general information, but when it comes to the training itself, they're more like Nabbits, which is more animated than Netflix. So that was the general overview of a conflict of interest. But it wasn't the training as it relates to, in this type of situation, what would you do? Those are more animated per se. So the way all of them work is pretty much the same. When I think overall, when I'm looking at the services that we need for our accounting, for me personally, Nabbits and Skillsoft were at the top. Illuming, I don't know if it was a salesperson or what it was, but it was just very difficult for them to even understand what we needed. And that wasn't a good sign for me, especially by the third call. Skillsoft, she was able to explain, the representative from Skillsoft actually was a former Nabbits employee. So she could really dive in and tell me the difference between the two. I don't think, honestly, the board can go wrong with either one of these. I think they both can serve the function that we need.
What was her suggestion? What are the differences in her opinion?
One of the suggestions was licensing. With Skillsoft, the licenses can be renewed. So by way of an example, if one employee leaves, you don't have to assign a new license to a new employee. They just take over that license. With Nabbits, correct me if I'm wrong, Gloria, they can't recycle licenses. You have to get a new license for each employee.
So for every 1,700, we'd be going through 1,700 versus if we were to be at 1,501, one leaves, we can reuse one.
That is one of the biggest difference, yes. Now, because of that, I think that's why we quoted 1,700. How many employees do we have now?
Roughly about 15.
We have currently 15, so we kind of gave ourselves a cushion by getting quotes for 1,700. And I think, do you remember what he said, how much it would be per license if we have to add on to the 1,700?
I think it broke down to like $12.
So it may be like $12.48 or something similar to that. But that was one of the biggest things.
But does Navix have this new quote that we have from them, does that include multiple languages as well?
It only includes Spanish. If you look at page, yeah, it only includes Spanish.
And specifically, because I know different regions, countries, different Spanish and Portuguese, which Latin American countries are included in that Spanish?
As far as I know, it's just, they call it Latin American Spanish, and that pretty much covers all that. So it's just normal Spanish.
Just no Portuguese.
So does the license expire on an annual basis?
No, they don't expire at all. It just depends on the usage of when they get assigned. So with Skillsoft, they can renew, they can be reused, but with Nabbits, they cannot be reused. Once you assign it to one employee, it stays with that employee. Once that employee leaves the county, you can't say, oh, they left, can I now give their license to employee B that just came in? No, you have to assign them a new license.
That's where the $12 come in.
That
Okay.
it will go over
Right,
1,700.
if you go 17, okay.
Another thing I did like, at Navix that Skillsoft doesn't offer is Navix has an internal live webinar, program built within, where we wanted to host a live webinar, let's say, for a shift with fire. And we wanted to, instead of, trying to work with their 24-hour swing shift, or make sure if we see that they're not adequately doing the, virtual training, we can say, okay, well, we're gonna do a live webinar, you all have to log in. They didn't have that with Skillsoft. They said it's something they're working on. Somebody asked about the ability to be able to pause it and come back to it. All of them provide that. You can pause it and you can pick right back up where you left off. All of them provide certificate of completions. All of them have some type of way where we can incorporate our acknowledgement, where they can e-sign it. If it's not built into the program, we can at least attach a hyperlink that will send them to like a DocuSign where they have to sign the acknowledgement of taking the ethics training. Somebody asked about in-house or contracted out, customer service. All of their customer services are in-house.
And available 24/7, like chat.
So phone support is available 24/7 for Skillsoft. Emails are within 24 hours of receipt. For Navix, what was the turnaround time for? I think it was 4 hours. Skillsoft did indicate that customer service is also available for employees. So if the employees are having technical difficulties, they also can get that support. I don't think you clarified that for Navix. I didn't even know that it was something that should have been asked until advised that their learners also have the ability to have that support.
Yeah, see, Lumi does too, that chat and customer service, because if you're experiencing something while you're in the process of training, and you have you deal with fire or police or whomever that have a short window of opportunities, that they can get that help pretty quickly.
When we took the training for IT, do y'all remember who they used?
Yes, I said their name last time.
Okay.
And I can't remember off the top of my head, but we looked into them and they only do IT training.
And when it says all languages, what does that mean?
Literally all, just like the Bible.
For Skillsoft,
Sure, yeah.
Thanks.
when we asked about it, it said that they just said additional languages, including Latin American Spanish.
So English and Spanish?
No, I think they have a drop down. Which one did we just see the drop down menu?
That was
Lumi?
Illumi.
Probably very similar.
All languages, they weren't specific, they just said additional languages. And then they said including Latin American Spanish. They didn't say specifically, here is the list. If that's something the board wants, I would ask them. They did also say that there is a translated content fee that increases cost per license by approximately 10%.
Which was that not in, that doesn't include the.
I'm thinking that is what that fee is right there.
Okay.
What fee?
Where it says English only and then all languages.
Because that's the difference from 500 or 1,500. So I would just want to clarify that includes whatever that fee is, just because
Per person.
if currently we have majority of employees are English speaking, that's not to say that we're not going to hire someone that speaks Spanish or Korean or Japanese or
Or it's
whatever.
easier for them to understand that
Yeah.
language.
Exactly. So I don't think it would be sensible to do an English only training at all. But I would definitely want to know what specific translations, because it says content translations. So that doesn't necessarily mean your actors are speaking whatever language. They're just gonna have subtitles.
I was about to say it's probably closed captions or subtitles.
Yeah,
And the difference between, one thing about Skillsoft as well is you couldn't customize some of the wording, I guess because it's pre-recorded with the actresses. So by way of an example, they may be saying client instead of employee. You can't change it, that type of dialogue within the videos. I don't think that's a big, deal. I think employees will still understand it applies to you, but that is something that was different from Navix. With Navix, you can change those words and things of that nature.
Did we budget for how much we wanted to spend for this?
We definitely cannot, I think there's no way we can do over 50,000.
I think that's our answer.
There you go.
Now, this is it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Well, it's English only.
And all of these, that's,
We did not request extra money.
Mhm.
But if we see that we have issues and we need whatever the board decides, we can get a mid-year adjustment. And then next year, when we have to do our presentation, I think January for the new budget year, then at that point, we can, have documentation to say, hey, we've had to get our IT, we've had to get a training software and different expenses that come up that, didn't happen in the first year or second.
Okay, so our fiscal year just started again in July.
I like the price point on Navix for English and Spanish, but the only thing that I would want to be sure of is that in the future, if we can build in to our budget to make sure that we have a translator or translator service, that if we were to need another language, that it would be accessible to somebody. And that may not necessarily be through Navix. That could be if we need a,
Outsource.
for hire, translator, we have someone that specifically speaks something that is not included.
And it may cost the board less to do it that way, because I know when we had this training for the individual that was deaf or hearing impaired, he wasn't deaf. Gloria did reach out to see some local accommodations because the county wouldn't pay for it. So, our duty is to train. We wanted to make sure we had the accommodation. And it may be cheaper to do it on a case-by-case basis than to do something like the all languages.
I mean, I think Spanish and English are that's pretty comprehensive, but that's not saying, I just don't want it to appear that, oh, Henry County's only gonna hire you if you could speak English or Spanish, that just doesn't, no.
Now, what kind of warranty in the day that we're gonna get with this type of software? Where if we have some type of hiccup in the software or program, something.
They do have an in-house, customer service team that would be assigned to us if we have any issues.
So no, they just gonna fix the issue eventually.
So with the pricing for Navix, I think that is better. Of course, I see that what's this annually, they'll go up no more than 7%, which is roughly a little over some change, over $1,000. So that'll at least give us time to, I guess, fiscally increase our budget as need be, for it. So,
And I think that increase doesn't start until after 3 years.
right,
Oh, okay.
I think this price locks us in
for
for
3 years, and then after that,
I don't know about that one.
No, it says annual fees will be.
right, yeah, fixed for 12 months.
Yeah.
From the work form effective date thereafter. never.
I would get clarification on that. before.
Yeah, basically, it'll increase 7% each year. So
Right.
you can account for no more than 7%. So
Yes,
just,
correct.
if it goes, basically, if it's, let's say it's 14.5 this year, and it's just hypothetical, an additional 7% next year,
Right there.
and then additional 7% on top of that.
Mhm.
So we're looking at 14% by third year.
I wonder, can we do I don't know what you call this, escalating? So if we only have 1,500 employees today, can we do 1,550 for the first year? The next year go up to 1,600, the next year go up to 1,700 or something.
Incremental.
I don't know with Navix, I know with another company, Skillsoft, when we inquired about that, their response is typically you get the best discounts with the more licenses you purchase. So if we knock it down to 1,500, I don't know if that's gonna either increase our price or make a big deal in the price at all.
Okay.
But we can ask.
I mean, it seems like wasteful to have licenses that we know we're not gonna use for a couple of years.
I do, I'm sorry.
If the board has a representative that's helping us with Navix, actually sent me an email, and said if the board had any questions that they wanted answered tonight, he said we are welcome to give them a call.
So we have live customer service.
If the board wants to do that, I can make a phone call and put it on Twitter to the board. Discuss.
Yes.
My biggest question is,
That's good.
It's up to the board.
is this quote, because this price quoted the total discount, total fees due now. Is that for 3 years? It says term shall begin on the order form effective date and run for 3 years. But that contradicts their number 4.
That's yearly.
Yeah.
The price is per year.
The amount that's due.
So,
If, like I said, if the board wants me to call the representative that's been helping us, I can do that.
I mean, it's up to the board. I don't feel like all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. We need to, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think tonight what we'll do is just take a vote on using Navix as our provider. And you all are comfortable with it since you all are gonna be the main ones that's gonna be putting this thing out.
I think out of all the 3 that we've vetted, I think Navix and Skillsoft are top.
I agree. This was the first one we presented last month before we realized that there were other options that we could go to,
Mhm.
and we loved it then. We just wanted to give the board other choices, so you can see pricing difference, and I honestly want to see what it will look like with the software on the back end as a learner with other companies as well. And this will still remain user friendly. This is more modern than Skillsoft, I will say that too. The dashboard, I don't know if you all remember from last month, it was I showed you all the reporting. You can see what they're getting wrong per question. I like it, and I think it will make training very efficient for the board.
So. All right. If anyone else has any questions or any concerns about it, we can make a motion to make a vote on using Navix as our training software for Henry County.
I will make that motion that we engage Navix to handle all of our training videos.
All right, motion made by Lawrence Smith. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, second by Ethel McCornell. All in favor of utilizing Navix?
Aye.
Any opposers? All right, motion passed.
That concludes my general updates. Are there any questions before we go into our case for tonight? Okay, this is a probable cause hearing, John Doe versus City of Clemens, based on the 2024 EB4. We sent the board a copy of the evidence that was provided in regards to this case. It was very voluminous. I think it was probably about almost 200 pages worth of evidence as well. When it comes to the preliminary investigation, at the time, Thomas was the commissioner. I will remind the board that right now she is no longer a commissioner. She had just voluntarily resigned to run for the chair position. Ultimately, she did not win that position, but because the complaint was filed at the time in which she was a commissioner, then the board has the obligation to still move forward. So there is still personal jurisdiction. As it relates to subject matter, the jurisdiction, it was various allegations. The one is a misuse of position. I enclosed for the board just a reminder of what that means as it relates to our code. The second was engaging in activity prohibited by law. The third one was inappropriate conduct by a member of the Board of Commissioners. And the last one was failure to disclose an interest. As it relates to the factual basis, I have provided the board, you can't see it on here, but hard copies of the complaint itself. Not only did I review the complaint, I also reviewed the evidence that was submitted. If the board looked at the complaint that is before you, you will see that the complaint very much hinges on the fact that there were various forms, CCDRs that were not provided. Does everybody know what a CCDR is? Okay, so if you all know what it is,
Just remind us of what it is, please.
Sure, the CCDR forms are forms that every elected official has to fill out and disclose assets, disclose campaign contribution. It's governed by Georgia's Campaign Transparency. It used to be called the State Ethics Commission, but they govern it to make sure our public officials are disclosing what could be conflicts of interest, essentially. So according to this complainant, Ms. Thomas has failed to file required CCDRs. She was using her name to inappropriately get PPP loans, that she did not disclose multiple assets that she has. This has dated back from 2018 to 2019, all the way through 2022. She also makes allegations outside of the CCDR allegations that she did not list her employment with Tyler Communications, that some of the expenditures that she listed goes to support her personal businesses, that she was using campaign funds to help support those personal businesses. There's an allegation that there were various events that took place that the commissioner was using her name to use county-owned facilities for her own personal speaking engagements and events. These events were being charged for, they weren't free, and that there was a conflict of interest in that as well. Upon reviewing the information that was presented, I would provide the court with a few things that I thought were pertinent. If I'll also remind the board that we can only go back 2 years. So although the complainant indicated some incidents are from 2018, 2019, and I think 2020, we can't look into that far back. It's only 2 years from the alleged act. However, there were some evidence, at least enough to make you look into it further. The first one is as it relates to Tyler Communications. I'm unsure what Tyler Communications is. I know we use Tyler Communications and it is used throughout the county for case management purposes, training purposes. It says that she is the chief administrative officer of that company. Now, I don't know if this is the same company. I have looked at the Secretary of State and this is the only company, which is the case management company. So I'm hoping it's not the same company. I would probably need her to clarify further, because if it is the same company, then there's some concerns of that, because the county uses that company significantly.
I think every county uses Tyler. Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. This is some of the evidence that was given by the complainant. The next thing is this Whisk Purple Branch. The complainant indicates that former Commissioner Thomas uses county facilities to host these private events. There is a question of whether or not the appropriate actions are being done to secure the facility. A fee is being paid, things that generally should be done. This branch was held, I believe, at Nash Farms. And so there is a question in regards to that. Those two were the ones out of the bulk of the things that are questionable. And for that reason, I believe there is enough to at least find probable cause to look further into this issue. I will tell the board as relates to the filing of the CCPR, I have reached out to them. They do have their own current investigation. It is still currently active and being explored. I would make the suggestion to the board in which I made when we had the same thing, which is to allow them to do their investigation as they are the one to govern the filings of disclosures and assets and campaign funds and things of that nature. And so even though there will possibly be a finding of probable cause if the board moves forward, I would probably not be looking into that unless the board says otherwise, because there is a current investigation of that, the CCDR. Any questions?
Go back to the Tyler Communications,
Yes.
please, I'm sorry.
Or
And that's actually Tyler Tech that,
One is in Tyler
yeah,
Technology.
Tyler Technologies that
Odyssey.
does the Odyssey and everything. So Tyler,
I looked it up on LinkedIn, and the only thing notable that I will say about her LinkedIn is that it still says Commissioner District 4 Henry County on it.
she just hadn't had time to change it. Let her bask in it for a minute.
And it could be something very different. As I mentioned before, I tried to look it up on the Secretary of State website and I couldn't find a difference or not. So that
The
was,
other is specifically Tyler Tech.
Yeah. but
Yeah,
that's-
right.
that
It
was-
is.
I don't think it does like training, stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like for like business licenses, permitting and,
Was that for Tyler Tech?
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, Tyler Tech is for case management also, yeah, through Odyssey, so. And the only reason I wanted to go back to Tyler Communications, because looking it up, it looked as if the profile said food service or something to that nature. I guess providing it for large institutions or whatever. So I guess my question would be, did she have any contracts before as being a food supplier for the jail? Or anything in particular? As far as any business dealings with the county, did she have any business dealings with the county with her company?
that would be something that would be explored if probable cause is found.
Okay,
So I have found 3 separate entries on Secretary of State for Tyler Communications. You have Tyler Communications and Associates LLC, Tyler Communications Inc., and Tyler Communications Inc. The only one that is in active compliance is current registered agent is a Tony Tyler, says it was formed in 2009 with a Fulton County address listing. The CEO is Tony Tyler, CFO is Ebony Francis, and secretary is Tammy Austin. The other one lists the exact same information.
That's the information I found as well. I couldn't find anything on the Secretary of State indicating what this company is or is not. Unless I speculated to think that the Atlanta address some kind of way had something to do with her as well. I think that would be clear with just a simple conversation.
right.
A simple conversation to clarify what that is. I think as it relates to this issue with these events, that may take some subpoena of documents to see if there was a request for the use of county facilities, whether there was payment for those facilities or things of that nature. The complainant alleges that Commissioner Thomas also has an Eventbrite in which she not only uses for valid county purposes, but it also appears she is using it for her own personal speaking engagements and events. Commissioner Thomas events do have a cost associated with attending them, and they are held at county-owned facilities.
I found it. It's Tyler Communications Management. Just a second. It lists her and I'm assuming her husband.
So is the Eventbrite account paid for by county funds? Is she paying it out? So the Eventbrite account, is it a free account? Or is that something that she's using county funds to pay for?
I'm not sure. If you all recall, usually at probable cause, we really don't get into the subpoena documents. Now, the board can authorize a extension if you all, there's certain questions that you all want me to look into before finding probable cause. And then I can actually look into those things first. I think the board has done that before, when you wanted me to actually subpoena some documents to get a little more information before making a recommendation.
What was the date that this complaint was filed?
This complaint was filed on February 29th, 2023. I will note as well, another thing that was concerning to me is that this complaint mentions some businesses in which the board is having a hearing at the end of the month that is presumed to also, or could be a conflict of interest depending on how the board finds. But in my formal investigation of that case, there seems to be some conflict of interest as it relates to that business, and the commissioner using county resources to promote or facilitate personal businesses or personal affairs.
So can you repeat that for me? Because I'm wondering if you live in Henry County, as a citizen of Henry County, you have access to pay for these parks and whatever facilities that the county offers to its normal citizens. Her holding office doesn't negate that access if she's paying for it legitimately. Are her daughters minors or are they dependents?
From what it looks like, I believe they are adults because there's some real estate that's owned between her and I believe at least one daughter. So they would
They have a
to be-
family trust.
So this one that says person disclosure form section 8, known business interests of spouse and dependent children, those aren't necessarily dependent children if they're adults with their own life.
And for the board purposes, as it relates to those allegations, you would not have the authority to even really honestly review that. I believe this is what I don't believe, the complainant is only mentioning that because they're alleging that was not disclosed in the CCBR.
But if they're not dependent and they're not her spouse, is it required?
For the CCBR, I don't know what they require for the CCBR.
I feel like it would be because further down it says that she owned the 3 properties that she transferred to in a company name of VAF Family Limited Partnership, as well as her daughter's name, which is Ashley Frazier.
Or a different section. So the personal disclosure form, section 4, direct ownership of real property, it's one area, but the form, section 8, known business interests of spouse and dependent children, that would not be.
If I'm not mistaken, I've seen a CCBR form before, and I believe this would even have to be disclosed on that form. You have to list all your assets.
No, I get that part of it. So there are multiple sections, and one section is relevant and another section it isn't. So in other words, the real property is owned by she and her family, her kids, her spouse, whether they're dependent or not. In section 4 is understood, but in section 8, it doesn't seem like it applies.
Can you refer me to section 4 where you?
Section 4, where it says the person, 2019 person disclosure form, section 4, direct ownership and real property. That I understand if you're owning real property, whether you're owning it in a trust, a family trust that you're part of, things of that nature. But as far as when it says 2018 person disclosure form, section 8, on business interests of spouse and dependent children, if they're not a spouse and they're not a dependent children, then section 8 of that particular form would not apply. Just the other pertaining
Yeah,
to
I
the
don't
other.
think it would apply to that one. I
Yeah.
think that same information would probably apply to another section. So the section right above it. which will be direct ownership and real property. That's more of a general section.
And so with the alleged offenses, have we gotten any documentation to support any of these claims?
Yes, as far as the CCDR non-disclosure, yes and no. So we got the evidence that the complainant gave us to support it, and that's this here. The aliases in which she's saying that they're using to possibly hide asset. And then it goes into the property that's being owned and things of that nature. So we have that information. The question becomes, the allegation is she was supposed to disclose it and did not. It's very difficult for this board to make a determination whether or not she was really supposed to disclose it. Because these are the Georgia Transparency Campaign rules. So we got information that the complainant is saying where, yes, she was supposed to, but we can't make that determination whether or not she was supposed to until they say she was supposed to. Which is typically why I've always recommended that you kind of defer to them when it comes to that. Now, with that being said, one of the other violations that this complainant used was violation of state law. Let's say that they find that she was supposed to disclose and that she did not. That is a violation of state law. And then at that time, the board can essentially say, well, because you violate the state law, you have violated the code of ethics.
But we gotta wait that till that is determined, correct?
That would be my recommendation.
And when is
The
that?
board doesn't have it. They're still investigating. I did ask when there will be, did they have an estimation of when the case will be closed? Because at the same time this was filed in February, this same package was also filed with the Georgia Transparency Department as well. So they've had this since February and they're still investigating.
So should this even be a hearing for us right now?
There's multiple layers in this one complaint. So one layer deals with the transparency. The other layer deals with the renting of county venues and things of that nature. And then the other layer deals with that business that I think we almost kind of cleared up. Yes.
So is it possible to go back to the complaint and ask them, or do they want to separate the complaint? So that all we're hearing is on,
Transparency.
well, not on the transparency, but everything else.
Is it possible? Yes. Do I recommend it? No. I believe that's a decision the board should make. Because the board can make a decision. We can move forward only on these issues of the complaint, but we're not going to move forward on these issues.
Oh, okay, I didn't.
Yeah, I would recommend the board to make that decision instead of asking the complaint.
Okay, however we need to do it, I think that might be.
And that's kind of what I would recommend when it comes to these allegations of non-disclosure and non-transparency, is that the board, same recommendation I made on the other one, basically dismiss for lack of probable cause at this juncture. If there is a finding that there is a violation, if the complainant later want to bring another complaint because there was a violation, then they can. But to get a clear answer from whether or not there's a violation first.
The Georgia Transparency Office or whatever they're called, they may have their own fines or.
They do.
Okay. So,
In fact, the last case that this board had, where the board decided to dismiss it and kind of let the State Ethics Commission handle it, they did find a cause of violation, and that individual was sanctioned and had basically a public reprimand. That complainant didn't bring another complaint through the ethics board, so I assume they were just satisfied that something was done. And I will tell the board, based on my research of the State Ethics Commission complaints, they're not abnormal. Seems like a lot of public officials at one point in time or another, for whatever reason, may forget to file a disclosure or left some information out. It seems very normal for them to be going through this process. Not right, but.
Well, I gotta say what's abnormal for me is that this person has over 27 different businesses either currently or formerly registered in the state of Georgia, and they are all over the place. There is childcare, there is chemicals, there is finance companies, there's a propane company, there's churches. I mean,
How is that abnormal? I'm curious.
having 27 different businesses registered, I mean, that's a, like, I might understand if you specialize in childcare, you specialize in financial planning, but that is a very broad, and I think it's more so that how many of them that have been dissolved that are,
But it's not illegal.
it's not illegal at all. However,
And it's not
see the
abnormal.
pattern.
It's not abnormal for someone to own a business they don't specialize in because the whole point of that is to leverage. And leverage is you partner with people who do specialize in something and allow yourself to make an income from that.
I think for our purposes, as it relates to the complaint, the complainant was indicating that these businesses were not properly disclosed on that CCDR.
Okay.
As supposed to be required.
But that's beyond what we're going to.
That is my recommendation. That is something that the ethics commission should make a determination whether or not it was required for her to disclose at the time of filing the CCDR. Because that's a difference too.
So when I'm looking down here at the bottom of page 2, in addition, Vivian Thomas did not list her employment at Tyler Communications, which she's been employed with since 2018-22 expenditures. The following expenditures should be explained by Commissioner Thomas and what the purpose was supporting her campaign. Is there any proof that those 20-something businesses that she had, is there anything to show that there was support to her campaign based off of the complainant? Like,
The biggest thing that I see on Secretary of State is that I cannot, by searching her name, I pull up 27 businesses and absolutely none of them say Tyler Communications or anything remotely connected to communications.
So to own a company, you can do a DBA, which is doing business as. We're not sure which one of those companies are doing business as telecommunications.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you repeat your question?
I guess I'm trying to get a skin off the bone, and I want to work with just the bone. Because it seems as if it's a lot of meat in here, and it's things that we might be focusing on that we really don't need to focus on. I want to make sure that since the focus that they have on here, that Tyler Communications supported her campaign, and what they say in the back clause of that paragraph is the purpose of these companies is to support business development, and have no purpose for supporting a campaign, and other charges just do not appear to be legitimate. I guess I'm trying to understand why is the focus on Tyler and not these other businesses? And if there was anything to show that any of these other businesses that listed was contributory to her campaign.
So there's two
Those could be
different
businesses or-
paragraphs. So the one about Tyler, the only thing that the complainant was concerned about or making the allegation is that she didn't disclose that as an employment. But the next one is the 2018 and 2022 expenditure. She's saying that those businesses, and I think there's about 10, those are the specific businesses. Tyler isn't listed in there that was supporting or has no purpose for supporting the campaign.
So we went down the rabbit hole of her owning Tyler Communications when all she said is she worked for them.
Right.
That it was not disclosed.
So it's, so she worked, she never said she owned it. Okay.
It was mentioned as CEO, wasn't she?
No, chief administrative officer, even CEO, you don't necessarily own it.
Yeah. It's an employee.
My recommendation, when I look at the bare chairs, you said just the bone of it, a lot of this is beyond a determination for the state ethics commission. I would say about 3/4 of it. The concern that I would want to look more into are the things that dealt directly with the county at the time that she was the commissioner, which is the use of the facilities. And if there was payments that were being made to her personally where she was using her status as the commissioner to get those payments.
Yeah.
I think everything else really should deal with, through the appropriate venue.
Right. Okay.
So my recommendation would be probable cause only as it relates to those things.
I agree.
Any other questions or clarifications I can provide?
Have there been any receipts or documentation from Ms. Thomas regarding those rentals? Any receipts of payment? Showing payment?
No. Because
You requested it?
we have not requested it. I didn't see how that would tie into a violation of the code of ethics. Because the allegation was that she didn't disclose the rental on the CCDR, not that she was getting inappropriate funding.
But if we're not addressing the CCDR and we're only the use of facilities in the county, then her use of it is, what, did she use it without payment? And she was supposed to, and if she did pay, then we should.
Sorry. You said rental, I was thinking about rental houses.
Oh,
You meant the rental of the county facility.
Yes.
No, we have not requested that yet. That is the next step. So, and again, the board, you have the decision not to find probable cause and just to grant an extension pass today to be able to dive into this more, to request a subpoena, things of that nature. You all have done it before, if you felt like more information needs to be presented before finding a probable cause, and you all also have found probable cause and said, do that in the formal investigation. It's totally up to you.
has she offered up any receipts or any of that nature? She's not offered up anything. But she
We
is,
did file an answer before the election, but that answer was to the extent of you can't move forward right now because of the election. It wasn't addressing the substance of it.
I would like to move as quickly as we can on this because I think it's been lingering for a while. However, I would like to at least give her the opportunity to present documentations or receipts or rental agreements to show where that there possibly was payment. And since because is she alleging, or whomever this person is alleging, certain facilities on certain dates? So that it gives her an opportunity to look at those.
The specific ones that she alleged is
Right.
this one. This one, I could not tell how the commissioner was involved, but again, this is the allegation from the complainant. And then the second one was this one. Because the venue or the Eventbrite is closed, I can't see where it was held, but I did see that the 2023 version of this was held at Nash Farms, which is county owned.
So in other words, even if she wasn't participating in the event or hosting the event, perhaps she allowed use of the event in her name free to them. Okay.
That's the complaints. That's their allegation. And she was using her status as the commissioner to promote either her personal events or something for her person.
Gain position.
If we can get dates, I guess we can verify with the county that those facilities mentioned were actually used on that day and time for those different events.
What I would suggest is, we've done it for another similar allegation, is we actually just subpoena Parks and Rec to get a copy of all her rentals.
Yeah.
That will just
Clarify.
get it directly from the horse's mouth, and we'll be able to at least get. And if we have anything that shows there was an event and it doesn't match up with an application.
All right, so how do we put this motion on the table?
It depends on whether or not you want to continue it for more investigation, or if you want to find the probable cause and allow the investigation to take place in the formal investigation process.
That part.
If it gives enough time, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
How soon do you think?
We can get those documents.
We can get the subpoena out this week. They usually are pretty quick with getting it back to us.
Okay.
I just want to make sure with us having all of these hearings coming up, I have enough time to review them and adequately meet with Ms. Thomas, allow her to give her explanation. I would need at least 60 days.
We meet with her at the end of the month.
No, that's for a different case.
That's for a different case. So if the board decides to continue it on the issue of probable cause, I would ask the board for at least 60 days to be able to get the subpoena documents that I need to review them and so forth.
What case are we reviewing at the end of the month? What hearing is that?
So there's another case, that is,
Which Clemens.
Yeah, no, not
Not Clemens for.
minutes.
Yeah, that's another case.
it is John Doe versus Vivian Thomas, 2022 EB3. That's set for a final hearing, July 30th at 9:30. Some of the allegations that are in this complaint mirrors the allegations in that complaint.
That's from the floor.
Yes.
All right, I think we got to say that there's probable cause here. I mean, if the complaint was already filed with the Ethics Commission, I mean, I would not feel a good conscience saying that there's not probable cause here. Because there definitely, we need more information.
And that's the thing, there's not enough information to me to believe there's probable cause. Not saying that the allegations are not believable, but there's nothing to support the allegations one way or the other.
That's why you have to get.
Yeah,
The
which is
records.
why I would want to delay probable cause for this particular, and you advise, what is?
Typically, our process is the probable cause hearing is probable cause is the lowest standard, right? Is there enough to look into this further? And once there is enough to look into it further, there is a finding of probable cause, then we do the formal investigation, which causes more of the subpoenas and things of that nature. That's how the statute lays it out in the two-step process. I don't like how it's written, but I didn't write it. So if the board would think there's enough to look into it more, technically you may be finding probable cause already.
I found the TylerCommunications.net website. It is Tyler Communications, Inc., listed as a government and private sector company with 25 years experience in business development, doing business as Energy Daiquiri Bar and Grill. Owns and operates a full-service restaurant and bar in Atlanta, airport locations coming. And this kind of comes back to the commissary at the jail. They specifically list that they do business development, small disadvantaged business, minority business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise, airport concessionary in 50 states. So food and beverage operator, staff development, training, certification process, contract and compliance.
I will also remind the board too, just because there's a finding of probable cause, doesn't mean there's gonna be a finding of a violation later.
Right.
It just allows more time to look into the issues in which are presented before the board right now. And I do tell the individuals in which the complaint is lodged against, I do tell them, just because there's a finding of probable cause does not mean the board is saying there is a violation.
So just so we're clear, Tyler Communications is listed as not, alleged as not being listed in her CCDRs, which they find is a fault, because it shows that she's employed there, but she doesn't list them. However, the jump to that company feeding prisoners is something we just made up, right? Okay, because that's not alleged, and nor is there any evidence relating the two. Not even in the profile of the company itself does it mention prison systems and feedings.
Right, so I think,
I don't want to,
Consent.
yeah.
I don't want to tarnish, I don't want to make up stuff.
Yeah, no, that's not being put out there. I think because it was discovered that it was food and beverage, the general question was there any contracts that she did within the county that required the use of
Beverage.
food and
Yeah,
concession?
concession, I mean, even
Right.
with.
Find out from the
Correct.
city manager and whomever else.
Right, so,
Be careful.
yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree.
Motion now. Motion now.
So I guess we put a motion on,
I make a motion to find probable cause and move forward with subpoenas.
So a motion has been made to move for probable cause and go ahead with subpoenas. Can I get a second on that?
Second it.
All right, motion made by Lawrence Smith, second by Cynthia Coronado. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Yeah. Any message?
All right, in favor, motion passed.
That concludes, my presentation and like the general update and probable cause. If there's no further questions.
I do. So with this, with voting to move forward with probable cause, we're also gonna move forward with the subpoenas to gather more information for all those
It
things.
goes into step two, which is the formal investigation, which is witness interviews, subpoena of documents for going back around with the person who filed the complaint to get, if it wasn't clear, to get a little more clear if there are any other events or things of that.
And so when we're talking documentation, we're talking food and beverage related as well as rental of county properties for events.
That was not my understanding.
That's what I want to make clear.
That my understanding was only as it relates to the rental of the county facility.
Right.
But if we're gonna continue to question Tyler Communications, then to be fair, either we need to clear it up and clear their name or find cause to continue to have that conversation.
I did not understand that we were still going to question that. If the board,
It's coming up.
I think you have to. If this complaint was made in February of 2024 and she listed on her personal, Facebook page that she's been employed there since 2020. I feel like that's within the scope.
I don't think it's within scope, but I think if someone finds it in scope, it is only right to subpoena documents to prove one way or the other.
so I would ask the board to make clarification, and probably Attorney Rashad can weigh in on the proper procedural protocol to make it clear as what probable cause is being found for. Is it being found for the complaint as a whole, or as it relates to certain things in the complaint? Because if it's as a complaint as a whole, then the things as it relates to CCDR, I will be obligated to look into those as well.
Question, are we allowed to go back past the 2 years?
We are not allowed to go back past the 2 years.
So 2020 would become a moot point at that time.
But she was still employed. She was still employed there. It's still listed on her. If when the person filed this complaint in February, if they got on her Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever and saw that in February of this year, whatever date she started her employment there, doesn't really matter. If she's listing it as present employment or employment while she was serving her term of office.
And I believe the last CCDR she filed was in 2023. And so the complainant is saying it wasn't listed in general. It says that it actually doesn't specify honestly when it should have been listed. It just says that it wasn't listed.
For the CCDRs, it's already been investigated by the proper channels, which means we could sidestep that for now and revisit when it's relevant.
And that would be my recommendation.
I agree 100%.
But if the board can vote, I don't know if Attorney Rashad, if they have to now almost rescind the prior vote or call for a new vote for clarification. I'm not sure.
I was just about to say, I think it called for a new vote.
Right.
Because I don't think it was specific as to what they were finding probable cause. I would just be like specific on, where you going with the record?
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll rescind the previous vote that was placed on the table. And do we need to vote to rescind, or do we just need to rescind it?
I believe you all probably need to vote to this.
All right, can we get a motion to vote to rescind the previous motion that was made at the table?
I vote to rescind the previous motion made on the table.
Motion made by Felicia Harrell,
Carol.
I'm sorry. All right, seconded by Vice Chair Simmons. All in favor? Any opposers? Now, the motion, I'd like to make the motion for Ms. Harrell.
So for clarification, my motion is to subpoena documents pertaining to the rental of county-owned properties and facilities. Verification of the dates she rented and if payment was received, applications, things of that sort.
Wait, I don't think that's the motion. I think
Is
the
that the-
motion is whether or not you find probable cause on,
Is that the motion we
and
rescinded?
then once you do find probable cause, then the next step will be to do that further investigation. So whatever you found probable cause on, you would just say those.
She found wrong.
Whether or not to find probable cause on there's three category of issues.
Okay.
Category one is the failure to be transparent and list certain things as it relates to the CCDR. Category two is various personal businesses that were used or could have been used, or she was using her position to progress her personal businesses.
Touch networking. What's next?
So that is, if you look at the page two, the very last bullet, that's allegation two. Allegation three is the use of the county's facilities.
Okay.
Does that help by breaking it out into three different issues?
Yeah,
So you all can find probable cause on 1, 2, and or 3.
which one is for the facilities?
3 is the facility.
I find probable cause for item number 3.
So you would have to make a motion.
My motion is that I find probable cause for item 3, the rental of facilities. Am I
Only,
only?
I am probable cause for misuse
Number two.
of position.
Yeah.
so you all can have a general discussion on whether,
I agree with both.
so someone can find, actually make a motion for probable cause finding on issues 2 and 3 only.
Yes.
I think we also need to specify that we're finding it only because another regulatory board is already investigating allegation 1.
In my mind, my arms are thrown up.
Sure, so go for it.
Right,
Okay, go ahead. I'll let her lead.
all right, so let's make the motion, if I can get a motion on the table. For probable cause for the use of county facilities and the various personal businesses, am I correct? Use of various personal business.
I made that motion.
Okay, get a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Martin Smith, second by Cynthia Cornott, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposers? All right, motion is passed.
And Chair, just so we're clear, we can have a motion, dismissing.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not finding probable cause on the issue as relates to CPR.
And just really quick, was that what you all found, or did you decide to put that on hold until they are down there? Or you
It's
just?
my understanding that another regulatory board
Okay.
has jurisdiction over that.
All right, so if I can get a motion to dismiss the failure to be transparent with the CCDR.
I made that motion.
All right, motion made by Lauren Smith,
Second.
second by Cynthia Cornott, all in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, staff.
7:35. All right, we're gonna put the motion on the table. All right, to dismiss the failure to be transparent, being that it's gonna be on another regulatory board. Motion to dismiss that. Motion was made by Lauren Smith. It was seconded by Cynthia Cornott. All in favor? Any opposers? All right. Motion is passed.
Any other questions?
Did we also do a probable cause for misuse of position?
Yes, that's.
Two?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that we capture both.
All right. Is there anything else? Madam Officer? All right. Motion to adjourn the meeting?
I made that motion.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposers? Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, well, exhausted.